Good afternoon, everybody. This is the first meeting of the Planning Advisory Committee. As there's currently no chair or vice chair for the committee, I will start by going through the election process. And prior to that, we'll just also do a brief call to order. So with members present currently, we have member Dan LaRose, member Michael Smith, member Don Allen, member George Watson, all present, and Warden Clark is also present. Deputy Warden Coughlin, member Keith Bell, and member Lynn Dolan are currently not present. So with quorum, we will move into the election of the chair and vice chair. Just give me a moment here. So in accordance with the procedure bylaw, an election will be held for the chair and vice chair of the Planning Advisory Committee. Nominations do not need to be seconded. If more than one member is nominated and lets their name stand, an election will be held. Each member shall have one vote. The candidate receiving the majority of all votes would be declared elected. If there are no questions at the moment, I'll begin by opening the nomination process. So we'll do 3 calls for nominations here. So we'll begin with the position of the chair for the Planning Advisory Committee. So members, this is the first call. Are there any nominations for the position of chair?
I would nominate Michael Smith.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor LaRose? Okay, excellent. If there's no further nominations, this is the second call. Are there any further nominations for the position of chair of the Planning Advisory Committee? Seeing none, we'll just move on here quickly to the third. So the third and final call, are there any nominations for the position of the chair of the Planning Advisory Committee? Okay, seeing no further nominations, Councillor Michael Smith, you've been nominated to be the chair of the Planning Advisory Committee. Do you wish to accept the nomination or decline?
I will accept the nomination.
Excellent, thank you very much. If there's no further nominations for the position of chair, can I please have a mover and a seconder that nominations be closed and that Councillor Smith be acclaimed as the chair of the Planning Advisory Committee? So I'm seeing Warden Clark as the mover and seconder, Councillor LaRose. Perfect, thank you very much. So the item to be voted on there would just be that nominations for the chair of the Planning Advisory Committee be closed. If I could just see a show of hands as a vote on that. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. That's carried. So the chair of the Planning Advisory Committee for the remainder of the term by acclamation is Councillor Michael Smith. So thank you very much for filling that role, Councillor Smith. And next, we'll just quickly move on here to the call for nominations for the position of vice chair. So for the position of vice chair, this is the first call. Are there any nominations for the position of vice chair for the Planning Advisory Committee?
As chair, can I nominate Councillor Rose, or does it have to be someone?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely, you can. Okay.
And I would like to nominate Councillor Dan LaRose.
Okay, excellent.
For the position of vice chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Smith. So this is the second call. Are there any further nominations for the position of vice chair for the Planning Advisory Committee? Seeing none, third call. So this is the third and final call. Are there any nominations for the position of vice chair of the Planning Advisory Committee? Okay, seeing none. Councillor LaRose, you've been nominated to be the vice chair of the Planning Advisory Committee. Do you wish to accept the nomination or decline?
I'll accept.
Excellent, thank you very much. So if there's no further nominations, can I again have a mover and a seconder that the nominations for the position of vice chair be closed? Okay, perfect. I'm seeing member George Watson. And as the seconder, thank you, Warden Clark. Okay, and the vote or the item to be voted on there is that nominations for the chair of the Planning Advisory Committee be closed. And if I could just see a show of hands as a vote on that again. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. So the vice chair of the Planning Advisory Committee for the remainder of this term by acclamation is Councillor LaRose. So thank you very much for fulfilling that position, Councillor LaRose. And with that, I will turn things over to our chair, Councillor Michael Smith, to just complete the approval of the agenda, and then we can move forward to the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. For the next item, could I get a mover and a seconder for approval of the agenda? We have Councillor LaRose and Warden Clark. That the agenda for the August 26, 2025 meeting of the Planning Advisory Committee be approved. All those in favor? That is approved. Is there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? None. We'll move on to presentations and delegations. And there's a planning orientation. So if I could ask, I believe it was Tiffany who was going to lead us in the presentation.
Just to jump in there, Chair Smith, with your indulgence, it's going to be a group effort today. So in my capacity as Chief Planner, I'd like to welcome this term's Planning Advisory Committee, and our sincere apologies for not convening this sooner, but we were in a state of flux with regards to several county OP matters. And so but we felt it was timely to bring you together, not only to provide you a bit of a level set on what's going on with county planning, but also to introduce you to a part of our leadership team, a part of our team, the leadership component, who do the yeoman's job of bringing forward the various matters and navigating the various issues that are emerging in the planning space, especially for upper tiers in Ontario. So with your indulgence, I'll kick it off, Chair Smith, and then you'll be hearing from each one of us. So I'll start off with an introduction. Once again, for those of you who haven't met me, my name is Nathan Westendorp. I'm the Director of Planning and Chief Planner for the County of Simcoe. Over the last 20 plus years, I've worked in and around the county and the South Georgian Bay area at various capacities in both the municipal and private sectors. And I won't go through all the career history of everyone, but I did want to introduce our two managers of planning, Tiffany Thompson and Dan Amadeo, as well as our two planning program supervisors, and they're responsible for the innovation and acceleration aspects of the things that we do. A lot of those make their way through the special projects that we undertake, as well as working with each one of the local municipalities in navigating their OP processes and making sure their OPs conform with ours and with provincial policy, and yet still retain that local flavor that's so important at the local level. So those program supervisors are Kristen Pechkovsky and Julie Nolan. And then we have other staff that are busy working right now, but together we are the leadership team for the County Planning Department, with a wide variety of expertise and knowledge about pretty much every nook and cranny across the county. So without further ado, Deputy Clerk Trafford, would you like to share the presentation, or would you like me to? I'm prepared to do so if that's easier for you.
We do have a copy of it, so I think Tiffany was going to, but we do have a copy, so we can share it if that would be easier for everyone.
That is perfectly fine by me.
Excellent. Give me 1 second here.
So while the clerk staff mobilize the presentation, we did want to bring Planning Advisory Committee together for a few things. One, to strike the committee and deal with some of the formalities, if you will. The other piece was to orient the committee in preparation for some of the matters that we anticipate. So orientation of understanding of where we are, dispelling some of the myths about what's going on, what has happened, what hasn't happened, especially with all the legislative changes that have occurred over the last number of years. And then finally, to give the committee a heads up as to some of the issues that we may need to be tackling in the near future. By way of reminder, the terms of reference officially for the Planning Advisory Committee here at the county as an upper tier are to deal with matters relating to the county official plan and the county official plan amendments. So it's an advisory committee, so you won't see development approvals and whatnot, but it's about moving the progress of the OP forwards. And there is considerable work that we see upcoming, so we wanted to bring you together. So thank you. Next slide, please. So Simcoe County Planning, the Simcoe County, some of this information may be a repeat for some of you, but I thought it would be wise to start from the beginning. The planning department was originally formed in 1997, a few years after the amalgamations of 1994. And with that, the Ministry of Municipal Affairs gave the county, with its newly minted planning authority, an MOU to guide some of the new responsibilities that the county had absorbed from the ministry. And those were really related to the municipal plan review when the county is circulated, as per the Planning Act, things like official plans, official plan amendments, subdivisions, and all those other approvals. We really began sitting in the seat of the province with regards to dealing with the local municipalities. Previous to that, the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing had to approve every OPA, every OP, and every subdivision. They were a lot more involved, and I think over the course of time they realized that they really didn't have as much of an understanding of the lay of the land as perhaps those that were closer here at the county level. But the county did provide that intermediary lens of still adapting to some local flavor, as I mentioned earlier, but still providing some consistency from a regional perspective. 2 years later, the county's first official plan was approved in 1999, and that was done by the Ontario Municipal Board, now called the Ontario Land Tribunal. Then we went through various versions of growth management strategies and official plan updates, and the flavor of the day was really, some of you may have heard, adult lifestyle communities as a term that was bounced around in the early 2000s, and that was a new concept. Many developers were trying to catch the wind of the baby boom retiring and try to take advantage of that. So we worked through that, and there were several legislative changes in provincial dealings, but finally in 2008, County Council adopted the next version of its official plan, and that was on November 25th, 2008. And then 8 years later, the county, after 100+ appeals to the OMB, the county really got the fundamentals of the official plan that we work with now. That was approved in December 2016. Since that time, there's been 6 county OPAs. We call them COPAs to differentiate themselves from the local OPAs, and as well as an office consolidation. What a consolidation is over the course of time, there's amendments to a planning document, and sometimes for ease of reference and ease of reading, municipal departments will consolidate all those amendments into one new document that's a lot easier to read and integrating all the changes into one document. And we really released that office consolidation version in February of 2023, and that's the version that you see on the website today. Many of you have heard about COPA 7, and that was adopted by County Council in August of 2022. And so now it's been 3 years. We passed the 3-year anniversary, and it remains with the province under review. COPA number 8 was a minor expansion to the Guthrie settlement area in Oro-Medonte, and that was approved by the province last year. And then COPA number 9, it actually hasn't officially been given a number, but we anticipate it would be number 9. And that was the joint county OPA and local OPA that we were doing with the town of New Tecumseh as they were grappling with where they should expand their settlement areas and embracing new growth to 2051. So when settlement area boundaries are expanded, it requires a change not only in the local OPA, but also the county OP as well. And the county OPA change is really just a line on a map, if you will. And so we were headed towards that. And then a few months ago, the province requested that process be paused. And I'll get to that a little later because there's a story to tell since then. Next slide, please. So many of you have seen this. It's a very familiar side, so I won't belabor it. But in the province of Ontario, there is a framework, and it really is an upside-down pyramid. And it starts with the province. The province dictates how land use planning is to be done through a framework, and that's really put out by provincial policies that then are adapted and conformed to by upper tiers where they exist or single tiers where they don't. And then in the case of Simcoe County, then the local municipalities take the regional direction and then add to that a little more specificity as it relates to their communities in the local OPs. And then finally, where the rubber really hits the ground is in zoning bylaws. And that really is that's the applicable law. All the others are policies, but applicable law comes down to the zoning bylaw. This is what you can and can't do on a property, and building permits and site plans have to relate to all those documents, but most notably the zoning bylaws. And they all fit together to not only recognize hopefully what's legally existing, but also to through the official plans to architect and map out the long-term direction of how land use plans are envisioned to occur over the planning period. In Ontario, the planning period is 30 years. So we're allowed to look out 30 years through a variety of exercises. We estimate how much land we need to accommodate the growth that we're expected to receive in 30 years, both population, commercial, and employment. And we translate that into a land need, and then that's where designations happen. And designations are really the long-term direction for land use in a municipality. Next slide, please. So what's our role? Who are we, and what do we do? There's actually a fair amount that we do. Council doesn't see a lot of it because there's been a lot with the effort of streamlining and with the intention of cutting red tape, if you will. Council's delegated a lot of roles to staff, but there are 13 of us here doing a lot of work. So we remain the approval authority for local OPs, local official plans, if you will, as well as local official plan amendments. So all those local official plan amendments do need to come to the county. However, County Council a couple of years ago made the decision of, after we did a bit of a retrospective review of how much input and how many changes were needed, County Council delegated many of those local OPAs, those amendments, to myself for delegated approval. And that's been working fairly well, and every year we report on those decisions just to make sure that there's that responsibility loop back on having respect for the delegated authority that Council's given to this role. Furthermore, we provide provincial planning policy advice. As I mentioned to you earlier, we sit in the place of the province. So when there's questions about the provincial policy statement or various rules, we do have that line of sight across how things are being done, not only across the county, but through various networks across the province, including the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus, AMO, and the regional and single tier planning leaders of Ontario as well. And so with the benefit of those networks and that knowledge, we are the first line of advice for local planners. And some of those local planning departments are small. Having been in that seat with a small department, sometimes you're a 1 or 2 person shop. Having that phone a friend, if you will, option just to bounce things off of, or to get different perspectives, or to see what others are doing can be very useful depending on what the matter is. We also receive and review all local planning act applications. And we review them, and we provide comments regarding how they may or may not conform with county and provincial policy, as well as the potential impacts on county services and interests. So those services and interests are the common ones, like roads and waste management, forest, transit, trails, and paramedic services. And we're really trying to be even more proactive as the days go by, and working with our partner departments here at the county and identifying long-term needs, so that when development approvals come forward and development applications are suggested and proposed at the local municipality, we can work with our partner departments and lift up the county's hand and say, we need a parcel here because it's strategically located. Case in point, through a variety of situations, we've found blocks on subdivision plans that became paramedic sites or were reserved for fire stations or paramedic sites, depending on what the matter is. So we also do regional scale growth planning mandated by the provincial planning statement. So our responsibility to forecast growth for the area and then to work with the local municipalities on distributing that growth in a fair and equitable and also strategic manner hasn't gone away, even though the growth plan went away. So we don't have what's called a municipal comprehensive review, or an MCR as it used to be called, but we still do growth planning, and it's our job to work with the municipalities to do that. We also undertake strategic county projects related to housing, employment, transportation, transit, trails, and climate change, to name a few. A lot of what a planner does in any municipality is we are the connector between a lot of different professions, and it's no different here at the county. Next slide, please. So some of the side projects that we do, or some of the things that keep us occupied, apart from our OP reviews and our OPA reviews and the Planning Act commenting, is we're right now leading updates to the Greenland system and the agricultural system mapping, and council will hear more about that in the coming weeks and months. The county planning department is the lead for transportation master planning, and we have been for all of the transportation master plans beginning in 2007. And I think there's a typo there. It was actually 2014, not 2017. And then the most recent one in 2024. But we have to do that in partnership, and we're glad to do that in partnership with our friends in the transportation engineering department, through that combination of awareness on the engineering side, but also awareness of how things relate to the land and connecting the communities of growth and how to support the growth. We believe that partnership's been pretty successful over the last almost 20 years. Right now, we're also leading the transit service delivery review project that some of you may have already been engaged in or heard about it within your communities, again, in collaboration with transportation engineering. Since 2009, we've administered the Trails Connecting Communities program, and we're proud to say that program has been pretty successful over the last number of years and has grown to $300,000 available to to the collective municipalities for investment in connecting their communities through trails and active transportation routes. We also support corporate real estate acquisitions and facility projects. As I mentioned before, one of our partnerships that we enter into on a pretty regular basis lately has been working with our partner departments to help them understand where future growth is going and what their facility and property needs might be, and trying to find sites that are well located to embrace the growth that we anticipate. Finally, leading value-added projects and liaising with the province, municipalities, agencies, and stakeholder groups. So between all that, we are a pretty busy bunch of 13, but we do our best to be able to keep all the balls on the up in the air. And many thanks to Tiffany, Dan, Julie, and Kristen for definitely providing leadership to be able to do that. Next slide, please. With this, I'll give it over to Tiffany for a brief overview of the myriad of legislative updates. It can be confusing even to us planners, so we thought we'd give you a brief synopsis of what's happened, what's changed, and what hasn't. So Tiffany, over to you. Thank you, Nathan.
Just providing an update on the new legislation that we're dealing with and some of the legislation that has been removed. As probably quite a number of you are aware, that the new provincial planning statement was released last year, October of 2024, and that replaced the provincial policy statement, which was from 2019, and then also the growth plan was also removed. The growth plan has been in place since about 2006, so it's a bit of a big change for us here at the county. We've had fairly restrictive policies from the growth plan, so providing direction on growth and development in our settlement areas and outside of our settlement areas. So that is no longer in place, but there are still other applicable plans from the provincial level. So those are applicable at different locations throughout the county. So the Greenbelt Plan, Niagara Escarpment Plan, Oak Ridges Moraine, Lake Simcoe, and then we have the Source Protection Plan as well that governs quite a bit of the county as well. So next slide. And then two kind of legislation updates. Bill 23 is probably still in the forefront of most people's mind. For the county, we were listed as one of 7 regions or counties that are upper tiers of the planning authority. All of the other regions or county level have been assigned dates and are in those going through that process of delegating down. But the county still has not received a date, so the county is still the approval authority for official plan amendments and official plans. So that's just a little clarification there. We still are, providing that overall guidance and doing reviews as well for all other planning applications. Recently in 2025, there was 2 bills, so Bill 17 and Bill 5, and there was a staff report back in June regarding the information on both of these bills. And there was quite a number of changes proposed in Bill 17, streamlining development processes through different building code changes, development charge changes, Planning Act requirements. So different requirements and streamlining some of the requests for applications and study requirements. And then Bill 5 had a number of different changes in it. So I won't go through all of those, but there are 2 kind of bills that are most recent changes that are kind of changing the day-to-day operations, probably at the county level and at the local level as well. Next slide, please. And this is just a list of all the other planning changes. So as a planner, we're working in the field for a number of years. This is a lot for us to be processing over the last 4 to 5 years. So these are just some legislation changes that have gone through different bills from probably about 2020 to 2024. And then I've put down just some key highlights, procedural highlights. Requirements for pre-consultation are no longer required, but most municipalities are highly encouraging those to occur. And then there's application refunding, which was Bill 9, that has been rescinded. There's other details in here. So the planning framework and kind of structure is changing, trying to streamline housing and approvals. So with that intent, so we've just highlighted some of those here. Next slide. I think I'm going to be handing this back over to Nathan or Dan to continue with the policy updates that are related to the county OP.
Yeah, thanks, Tiffany. I'll take this one. So some of this we've covered previously in this presentation, so I'll just highlight a few things here. With regards to the county official plan, obviously our most important document at the county level from a policy point of view, and of particular importance for this committee, of course, to be familiar with. As Nathan had mentioned earlier, this was approved in 2016 by an OMB decision, and then since consolidated, which is just, as you mentioned before, an administrative update of happens regularly with official plans to bring them up to date with making sure that all the decisions over time and amendments are brought into a more current document. So that occurred in 2023, as noted earlier. There have been a number of appeals that were filed on this plan when it was approved. Planning staff at the county, along with partnerships with local municipalities, our legal team here, have been working feverishly for a number of years dealing with a lot of those outstanding issues, and many of those, the vast majority, have been able to be dealt with over time. So it's a lot of behind the scenes work in some cases to deal with these outstanding matters. And we're very pleased to be able to say that over the years since its approval, we've been able to resolve a vast majority of those matters as well. So that's sort of a good news story on that front. A few of these county official plan amendments were mentioned. COPA 7, which related to our municipal comprehensive review. That was really a growth management exercise that was vested within the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. And as noted, that provincial policy document is no longer valid. As a result, the MCR as an exercise isn't going forward as it once was, notwithstanding the extensive amount of work that occurred through COPA 7 to establish forecasts throughout the municipality and growth numbers through land needs assessments that took a number of years to complete. Remains the most current, up-to-date, and most accurate forecasting that we have. So notwithstanding the fact that it's built into COPA 7 and has not received approval yet from the province, coming up on our 3rd-year anniversary, waiting. It is still the foundational piece of information utilized by the local municipalities in many cases to build their growth management and decision making. So it's still excellent work. It's foundational in nature, and it's still extensively used on a day-to-day basis, both at the upper and lower tiers. COPA 8 was also mentioned. Just it was a small expansion to a settlement area in Oro-Medonte, Guthrie. This was an interesting one. It actually is the only settlement area boundary expansion that the county has done using the growth plan policies, the most recent version of the growth plan policies, which now no longer exist. So it sort of, if you will, snuck under the wire. It was very well presented. It was had extensive justification, and council made a decision to approve that back in 2024. As we move forward in our place with regards to provincial policy, we're now dealing with county official plan amendments relating to other expansions and growth exercises. 2 highlighted here are the recent New Tecumseh comprehensive work that was completed. However, has been put on pause at the request of the province. So that was very much a partnership between the town and the county, working with both the former policies of the growth plan and then transitioning to the new PPS 2024 policies. So an interesting transition between 2 worlds. And again, using the foundational piece of the previous land needs assessment completed by the county via COPA 7 and the MCR. So to be determined what occurs with that, and I think there's a little bit more information somewhat related to that coming up. In addition, we do have a long-standing private application for a boundary expansion in Bradford, West Gwillimbury, that's been on the books for a number of years. Again, because of the transition in provincial policy under the growth plan, it was not able to be dealt with. And this is just a good example of how the PPS 2024 policies are making very tangible changes to the planning world and our day-to-day realities, because current PPS policies do allow now for this application that's been around since I think 2017 to move forward under the basis of provincial policy. So we're presently feverishly working on that to bring that to council through a public meeting, and then ultimately some decision making down the line. Local official plan work and review and approval of up-to-date official plans and new official plans are underway in a sort of a very important component of the DNA of the county planning department. 10 local OPs have been approved between the span of 2018 to 25, and there's 6 really that are still in some degree of process, being Ramera, Agila, Tosaranio. We've got Springwater, Wasaga Beach, Tay, and Essa in various stages, some very close to approval, others a little bit further back in the process, but all of which are working very hard to make significant progress on those documents. And we look forward to our continued partnership with the local planning departments to make significant progress on that front. Our subdivision, and also I'll add condominium approval authority, has mostly been delegated to the local municipalities, who over the years have clearly shown their ability to deal with these, and obviously with the local knowledge of these kinds of applications are best suited to deal with them. We are in a position where 15 of the 16 local municipalities have delegated approval for subdivision condominium, and we're left with 1 remaining, which is in Severn, and we're in continual discussions with them about the right time to make that transition. We anticipate that will be sort of the near future, but we will be coordinating with them to do that at the right time. And then on the theme of efficiencies and evolution of the department over time, one significant change that's been made in the last few years has been a delegation of the local official plan amendments, so that the approval occurs under the responsibilities of the Director of Planning and Chief Planner to deal with, as opposed to going to council. And this has been, again, a very tangible improvement to our operations, and we can easily track an improvement in approval timing from at least a 4 to 6 week gain in time on that front. So it's something that's made a notable difference, not only from a resourcing point of view from the planning department, but also really importantly for the applications and the applicants that are trying to move forward quickly to bring projects to fruition. This just helps make the process that much quicker and that much more efficient. So we're really pleased with how that's turned out as well. Thank you.
Next slide, please. I'll take it over from here. Thanks a lot, Dan. Thanks, Tiffany. So just a bit of a recap on, yes, there's policy things that we deal with continually, both county policy matters, applications, as well as development review, as well as navigating provincial constant change. I think in just a few years recently, we've seen more legislative change than we perhaps did in the previous 10 to 15 to 20. So I don't have a final tally of the comparison, but it definitely seems like it's been constant change has been the name of the game. All perhaps well-intentioned, but there are ramifications to continuing to adapt how you do what you do when you work in a profession that is legislated, and legislation guides the precision of what you do and the order in which you do it. Those details matters, and it's very important for us to understand those details and to do it right. So we've been trying to stay on top of it, and at times giving summary reviews to our local partners who we understand are also very busy. So that's one of the value-added offerings we try to give to the local municipalities, is for those that don't have a time to review things to the depth of detail that perhaps others do, we try to triage that and provide those useful summaries where they may help. Those side projects, I won't even say them side projects. They're foundational projects, frankly. Things like the Transportation Master Plan, I talked about it before. That final summary report was finalized in March 2024. And when a master plan is done, that just means the work begins, because implementation then begins. And so out of it come capital projects or other initiatives or other EAs that then really build towards implementing the recommendations of the Transportation Master Plan. And we're in that right now. We completed a climate change strategy as a component of the MCR that was finalized in May 2024. Kristen led that, as well as Kristen Pechkovsky, who was also our quarterback for the Housing Attainable Supply Action Plan, which went to council through its final report in July 2024. 2024 was very busy. Also, beginning in 2024, Julie Nolan started leading the 2-year pilot project of the employment survey. So for the last number of years, many of the upper tiers in the Greater Golden Horseshoe have been doing what we know and what's been called an employment survey. So they send teams of staff out literally on the streets, going door to door from business to business, whether or not it's in downtown areas or employment parks or business areas, and to try to get information on what those businesses actually do. Are they still there? How many people work there? What are their challenges to growth? What are the opportunities to growth? How would they like to expand their business if they could? And that data has been really helpful for our Greater Golden Horseshoe counterparts. And with wisdom and financial backing from County Council, we embarked on that last year. And we've hired, last year we were the benefactors of federal funding to offset the funding that we had allocated for 4 summer students who crisscrossed the county last year. And because of the size of the county, we knew we probably wouldn't be able to do everything in 1 year. And also, we've never done the project before, although we have had multiple meetings with our regional counterparts to get lessons learned and to figure out a very successful project plan. And then this year, being the second year of the pilot project, we're finishing the survey, and we hope to be able to provide the results to County Council in the coming months after we really take the data, analyze the data, and we would really like to have some dashboards. So that not only ourselves, but the economic development colleagues, the local municipal partners, as well as anyone who's interested can see the data and to work with it and understand the details of the economy that is in and growing in Simcoe County. Also, Julie Nolan also led the development of the county's first universal development design guidelines. So what we really, looking across the province, we knew that the design of development and how it's executed is sometimes equally as important as to what it is itself. And not every municipality has the either financial wherewithal or has the experience or just has the time to prepare their own urban design guidelines. And we knew that there were some universal concepts that could be consolidated in a useful manner into one document that any of our local municipalities could use if they choose. Some municipalities continue to have their own, and that's great. Others have been looking forward to that, so we formed a small working group of local directors who were interested in the project as a bit of a sounding board, just to make sure that whatever our project did would really resonate as a useful document for the local partners. And we're just putting the final pieces of that together, and we'll be meeting with the local directors just to profile that, to let them work with it and to explain it. And then we hope to really offer it to use at every local municipality that chooses to do so going forward. So looking, next slide, please. We'd just like to give you a bit of a heads up as to the things that are either underway or in process looking over the 2025. And those are including a county official plan update. So we are anticipating a county OPA being housekeeping and conformity. So what is housekeeping? Sometimes there's either typos or there are little refinements or policy clarifications or things like that that need to be made. That's commonly in the realm of housekeeping. There's also, because we have a new provincial document that we need to be consistent to and conform to, being the provincial planning statement in 2024, we'd really like to be active and moving forward, updating our document to make sure that it's in alignment with provincial policy. We've experienced in the past what that lag between what one document says and what our document says. And having as much synergy between planning documents is a benefit to all, not only private applicants and residents, but also to us as practitioners and to council, making sure that consistency is aggressively obtained is very important to us. Also, we're working on a county OPA to update the Greenlands mapping and the ag system mapping. And this has its has a bit of a history back into the Municipal Comprehensive Review, or the MCR. Back before the growth plan was abolished, the province had also said, well, they have some provincial mapping, and that was called the natural heritage mapping. It's just a different way of saying environmental or greenlands or natural heritage. It's all synonymous with the environment and ecology of the county. But we're glad that we now only have to work with one mapping system. And so we are, with the benefit of data and laser mapping that the province flew over the last number of years, we have a much better means of obtaining accurate mapping and an ability to assess what natural heritage features and functions and where they are and the quality. We have a much better way of assessing that now. So we have a consulting team working on that, and you'll see the public we were exploring going out to the public for the first round of what we call the Greenlands inventory. Hey, here's the old map and here's the new map, and this is why it's showing, and these are the features. There's a wetland here. This is what woodlands are across the county and things like that. We decided to take on the public consultation element of that in the fall after the summer season and the vacation season ended. So just to be able to make sure that everyone's around and the right people who want to engage really can get engaged. Also, we've kicked off a model community planning permit system. So the planning permit system used to be called the development permit system, and effectively it blends zoning and site plan. And the town of Innisfil was very forward-thinking in doing a community planning permit system, or CPPS, along the shoreline. We saw a potential for that to be used for streamlining development approvals for housing. So what we're doing in that project is to develop a set of policies, because to activate the CPPS system, you need to have policies in your official plan, plus you need to have municipality needs to have a bylaw. Now, the county itself can't have the permit system, but our local municipalities can if they choose. So what we'd like to do is help our local municipalities to get there, if they choose to do so, by writing a standard set of policies that would set the stage for a CPPS system to be implemented by any local municipality to advance housing and housing options more affordably, by cutting some of the process that can sometimes come into play through zonings and site plans and some of those other decisions, by making it a little more consolidated in one decision. The other thing we're doing is also having that corresponding permit bylaw. And these would not be mandated. These would be optional for any local municipality to either take off the shelf and use, or take off the shelf and adapt and use to however, and change however they see fit. But we're trying to use the regional resources to be able to help local municipalities have yet another option to provide planning and housing options in a more streamlined fashion. And then councils and local staff can use that at their discretion. Also, for the first time, as far as I remember, over the last 20 years, the planning department is doing a review of its fees. We realized that our fees, compared to some of our counterparts, weren't keeping up. And with the development going on, we need to reassess what it costs to do business here at the county of Simcoe, and how that could be, how the cost of processing development applications should be borne by the applications themselves. So we're underway, and that will be going further back to council for council's determination later on in this fall. And we're also working as an outcome from our Housing ASAP. One of the recommendations was to also prepare a template bylaw and policies for rental replacement. So some of the more sophisticated municipalities and larger municipalities in Ontario have bylaws that govern how rental units can be replaced and how that should be governed. And so Kristen Pechkovsky is convening a local group of interested planners on crafting that. And again, it would not be mandated, but it's a value-added service, so that it's another resource that local planning departments and councils can use at their discretion. We've also made a request. We are preparing a report to council. Coming out of our Housing ASAP project as well, was we realized that there's some tools in the municipal toolbox related to affordable housing through the issuance of grants and loans that can only be done if we were able to do a community improvement project or a community improvement plan. But only certain upper tier governments can do CIPs. And you have to be designated by the province and the minister to be able to do that. So we're working on equipping council with making that decision. And there will be a staff report going on the agenda further on in the fall, recommending recommending council's options with regards to that matter. Finally, we're underway with the transit service delivery review in collaboration with our transportation and transit departments. And most recently, we've been provided direction to proceed with growth forecasting for 2076. And that's a long way out. It's 50 years out. Come next year. But the reason for that is, one, the new PPS allows us to plan for farther than 30 years when we're talking about infrastructure, when we're talking about employment, and when we're talking about strategic growth areas. All those things are good fundamental pieces to proactive planning. And if we review the last several years, we realize that Sometimes there's critical efficiencies and economies of scale that can happen when we look at infrastructure master planning, especially from a longer viewpoint. And so equipping the local municipalities at seeing what that longer viewpoint is, we see a lot of success there in working together for more economical master planning for infrastructure, but also really being ready to grow economically by identifying what our growth projections can be for employment for a longer period of time, and finding where the right lands to be designated employment lands should be. So we're looking forward to working through the Planning Advisory Committee and Council on that one, and there's certainly more to come. Next slide, please. So this is the piece that perhaps gets a little less procedural, and there are a myriad of emerging issues that some of you may have heard. Those are recent provincial consultation matters, and the province consults on their matters through the ERO. It's called the Environmental Registry of Ontario, and recently they posted 2 ERO postings. One was with regards to how municipalities and growth planning authorities are suggested and recommended to project growth. And commonly, there's always been a guideline from the province about how to do it. They're updating that guideline, and they want municipal perspectives and perspectives from the development community in general about what their proposed guidelines should be. So we're preparing a review right now, and we'll be reporting back to council on what comments, if any, we might choose to have. And at the very least, it would be a summary of the new guideline and what it means to Simcoe County. The other piece is addressing growth and housing needs in Simcoe County and South Simcoe County. So that's a bit of a unique ERO posting, specifically with regards to the the town of New Tecumseh, the township of Essa, and the township of Agilatas Orontios. And the province is really looking for some feedback on different ways to grow and different options to grow in those 3 municipalities. And that initiative is being led by the provincial development facilitator. So right now we're really looking at that and assessing what Simcoe County's role in responding to that should be. And we're working with our local directors and the local municipalities on where our commonalities lie in terms of those visions and some of our perspectives accordingly. So more to come on that, and there will be a staff report on that as well. Given the timelines that we're dealing with, we don't have the luxury of coming back to the Planning Advisory Committee. However, we did want to put it on your radar as something to stay on top of, because it could help shape and impact the directions of growth, at least in portions of the county. Again, with the departure of the growth plan, a lot changed in the planning regime in Simcoe County. So the growth plan was very prescriptive, and it prohibited the establishment of new settlement areas, and it gave a very detailed list of criteria and a process that needed to be followed that was municipally led before settlement areas could be expanded. It also identified employment lands that were regionally significant, being the Rama Road Economic District, the Lake Simcoe Regional Economic District, and then the 2 strategic settlement employment areas at Innisfil Heights and in Bradford along the Highway 400. And in large part, sort of our growth structure was set by the growth plan, and then we filled in. And the county OP, as we have it today, responded to the growth plan by adding some regional flavor to it. With the departure of the growth plan, we have the PPS, the Provincial Planning Statement 2024. And in large part, as we go forward with updating our county OP, we have some regional and some county decisions to make in terms of our growth structure. We also no longer have the prohibition on new settlement areas. So we've fielded some applications that are, and some meetings where there's some interest in expansions to settlement areas that are privately initiated, something that we really haven't had to tackle for the last 20 years. And so that will be a matter of constant review by fire department, and we'll continue to come back to the Planning Advisory Committee and Council as it may be for direction and our recommendations on how to navigate those new realities. COPA number 7. I wish I had more details, but we do know that it's coming back to the forefront. For ministry staff at the very least. We do know it was delayed by the ministry because of various other matters that they were dealing with the Greenbelt and with regional official plan and single tier official plan approvals in the Greater Golden Horseshoe. And now that those are sort of complete. Now I think the focus is returning back to Simcoe County and working with us. And we always have offered our expertise and our local knowledge to help the ministry. And we are hopeful that we're able to roll up our sleeves with their staff and outline what a COPA 7 should be in the future. And as always, we'll report back to council and Planning Advisory Committee as the case may be. And the reason why I keep saying as the case may be, sometimes we don't have time to come back to PAC. So we just have to deal with things. But as always, we want to put it on your radar, something that still is undetermined, but the province knows how we feel. And we're ready and willing to wait and work with them. The Barrie annexation matter, Barrie is a separated city, so we really don't have any planning control or oversight over planning matters within Barrie. Although they're at the staff level, we work pretty well together through the planning departments. But that annexation matter that we all have heard about through the news, it will have an impact on the shape of growth in Simcoe County, especially in South Simcoe County. And that will be an interesting one for all of you to follow as it progresses. And finally, planning for employment. Like I noted earlier, growth plan did give a status to those regional employment nodes, but the updated county OP will have to forge what that growth structure looks like. Where those regional employment nodes, specifically those 4 that were recognized by the province, the uses that were allowed within them were as per a ministerial letter. It was a very unique concept in the province. But with the departure of the growth plan, we have the ability to plan for them alongside our local partners on our own. And so that will be a discussion that we'd like to have with PAC in the future. So next slide, please. So where do we see going next with the Planning Advisory Committee? So what we see is the next meeting, which we hope will be in September, will be a detailed review and a discussion about the county OP updates for the Greenlands and the housekeeping. So that conformity and the housekeeping piece, we really want to unpack with the Planning Advisory Committee, what those mean and what are some of the considerations and the issues that need to be balanced, as well as the Greenlands and the agricultural system mapping. We want to share with you the work that's been done, the results of it, and the project plan going forward. And then we are putting a placeholder, or we would like to put a placeholder in October for another Planning Advisory Committee. I know we're going from an orientation into a pretty regular frequency. So Chair Smith, I may be reaching out to you just to set agendas, if you will. But there's a number of matters we'd like the advisory committee to be aware of and to be in tune with. So we look forward to those meetings as well. And with that, that's the conclusion of the formal presentation. And I want to thank you all for your time. As always, we remain available for any questions that you might have or further discussion on anything that comes to mind. And Chair Smith, I'm back in your hands.
Thank you, Nathan, to you and your team. Does anyone on the committee have any questions for them? Lynn Dolan, go ahead. Oh, and then George, we've got you.
Thank you very much, Chair Smith. First of all, I just wanted to apologize for joining late. I was sitting at my computer and 1 minute it was 10 to 1 and the next second it was 10 after 1. So just wanted to ask a couple of questions. The first one would be, are you, so working with your colleagues from the regions, how are they adopting to the new non-authority, and have they given you any indications whether or not Simcoe County will get a date anytime?
I'll answer this. Thanks for the question, Councillor Dolan. Both very good and very common questions. And so it's always top of mind. And so what I do know is no one has said anything about any specific date to us at all. I haven't even heard about rumors about a date or even a time frame. So that's the answer to the second question to the best of my knowledge. So as I've said to council in the past, and for the benefit of all the members of the PAC, until that date is set and until we do lose that authority, if we do, we're going to continue doing our job and updating the county OP so that it's in the best shape possible as soon as it can be. With regards to what I've heard from the other regions that have lost it, we meet pretty regularly with them. Every region has had a different experience dealing with that transition. They are still involved, especially for those regions that still manage the water and sewer and the roads. They still do development review. They still provide comments based on the regional services and assets and infrastructure. So in large part, that's kind of what we do as well. They just don't have that policy oversight. But they're also entering into MOUs and service agreements with some of their lower tiers as well, because I think there's a increasing global knowledge that the capacity and experience does still sit with some of those regional staff, and local municipalities do want to take advantage of that. And so they're entering into these service agreements where they can really capitalize on that corporate knowledge and that expertise that still remains at the regions. And in some cases, I know that the province is working with those regions on really understanding how the regions can help with what is now the provincial responsibility, which is reviewing those OPs and even some of those OPAs where that authority and that exemption has not been delegated. One thing while we're on the matter is we've reminded the province that unlike our regional friends and colleagues, we were never afforded the opportunity to exempt local OPAs from our approval. That's something the regions were able to do. And so I've said at least, and this is a staff level at the very least, is I've said there is an opportunity to review whether or not there's merit in allowing the county to exempt some local OPAs from our approval. And that would again cut red tape, streamline approvals, and frankly achieve some of what Bill 23 we suspect was trying to achieve, which is leave some local decision making in local hands where it belongs, but without removing the entire upper tier planning authority. We are also conscious of the impact to our local municipalities, not all of them, but some of them. If the county OP is no longer at that date of proclamation, then that county OP work needs to be done to absorb that into 16 local OPs, and that's a lot of work as well. So long answer to a really great question, but hopefully that was valuable.
Thank you. Can I ask one other one, Chair Smith? So we talk about all these master service plans that you're doing, the transit master plan, the transportation master plan. I wondered, has the county ever considered, even though it's not a county mandate, looking at a master servicing plan? The reason I ask is because in our local municipality, we have a municipal services corporation that looks after the pipes and the water, the wastewater, all of that. They can't come up with a servicing plan without the planning department telling them where the growth is going to be. One can't happen without the other. So I wondered in the upper tier scope, is there any thought or appetite for even asking if lower tier would be interested in seeing what an upper tier master servicing plan look like?
That's also a really great question. That role has come up, as recently as through the water wastewater service delivery review, and the notion of that did come up, and it remains top of mind, even to the point of we do have some money set aside to be able to do that when the time is right. But that discussion at some point needs to go from a staff to also to discussion amongst elected officials, and Warden Clark, I'm not sure if you have anything to add to that as well.
If I may, Mr. Chair, okay, first I'll send Keith Bell's regrets. He did try and join. He had internet problems and then he had trouble with his Zoom program. So he sends his regrets last minute. Yes, the sewer and water, that is one of the points we did stress to them, that how are you going to plan this regional growth if we don't have a planning department to do so? Nathan, I'm glad you pointed out the part about the lower tier initial plan amendments and severances and stuff. A lot of what was irritating the province in duplication was mandated by them that we had to do. So we have pointed these duplications out and our interest in not being involved in the local planning. So hopefully those are heard. And as far as the rumor mill goes, the rumor I've heard is they want to put this all to bed October, November, and that's the Barrie annexation along with our COPA 7 and along with the regional review. They want it all in one package handed in, which I find slightly disturbing. Why are you doing with the Barrie annexation when you haven't dealt with our COPA 7 and trying to do it all at the same time? But that's the rumor mill that they've put to us, that this fall it will all be put to bed. So, I mean, look forward to that date. They didn't give me a hard date, just before next year.
Okay, George, did you have a question for Nathan?
Yes, thank you very much. The presentation was excellent today. I was wondering if a copy would be available to members of the committee, copy of that presentation.
Through you, Mr. Chair, absolutely no problem in sharing a copy.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Is there any more questions? Seeing none, could I get a mover and a seconder for receiving this excellent presentation? Thank you, Nathan, and your team again. Okay, we've got Councillor LaRose and George Watson. Thank you. All in favor? All right, that is approved. We're going to move on to terms and reference. The terms of reference for the Planning Advisory Committee. So hopefully everyone got a chance to read those. Can I get a mover and a seconder to receive those?
Sorry, just to jump in, those are actually
Please.
just for information, Councillor Smith.
Perfect.
We usually attach them, so no motions required there.
Great news. Thank you. And there are no consent items, no matters for consideration, no other matters for consideration, and no confidential matters. So could I get a mover and a seconder for adjournment then, please? We have Warden Clark and Member Watson. All in favor? That is approved. Thank you, everyone. And I guess we'll get a date from you, Nathan, for the next meeting coming up. Thank you. All right. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you very much.
Very efficiently run meeting, Mr. Chair.